So while I'm already wearing makeup because it's Sunday and I went to church, and you never know, where the man that God has for you is going to be. Hopefully, he'll be at your church. I decided to go ahead and film another how-to video so you don't have to see me without makeup. I don't have to see me without makeup. It's a win-win. So today I'm going to talk about how to make paper beads because that's something that I've become very, very into over the summer. Since June, I've been making a ton of paper beads. I love it. Everyone else thinks it's strange that I love it so much. And I think that some of you might find it very fun too. So the first part of making some paper beads is to have some paper. So this is cardstock and it's thicker and it makes, a thicker bead, obviously. You can also use regular paper or like colored paper. I have used everything from book pages to like thick cardstock. And it's kind of like a dealer's choice, whatever you prefer working with. So I take mine, figure out how you want to cut it based on like if it has a pattern. This one's just solid. And then I take a ruler and I trace some little lines to make the strips. So I do some straight lines and that will make a barrel bead like that. That's kind of like all the paper is the same width and it makes a bead like that. And then you do various tapered lines. Okay, so here's my straight lines that I've marked out. And now I'm gonna also do some that are more of like, pennant shaped. Okay, starting wide and then getting narrower. Some going into a full point and some of them just kind of narrowing to a smaller width like this. Okay, and that will make the beads that look like this that are actually more rounded, as you can see. So once you've got the paper marked off, you can do it all at once or do it in sections. You're going to cut your strips out. So you just kind of cut along the lines. Make sure that you trace your lines on the side that you don't want to be visible on the bead because sometimes there are pencil marks left behind. So then you cut them all, and the ones that are straight, these are like ready to go. This is like buying, a peeled apple at the grocery store if you're rich and lazy. But the ones that are tapered, you got a little more work to do first. So if you have a strip of paper that's tapered like this one, what I do is I cut the bottom corners so that then it looks kind of like that, so that it's no longer jutting out a lot, because once you are making the bead, you don't want the very ends to be sticking out. You want it to still have like clean edges that are a circle at the top and the bottom. So the next thing you're going to do, this is like a cooking show and I've already, prepared some. So I have some strips of paper that I've already like cut all the bottoms off of and have them prepared. And this is a mixture of paper and cardstock. Sometimes I use cardstock with prints on it. You got to kind of play around with it to figure out how the bead is going to look, unless you are particularly, visually gifted and good at that type of thing. And then I have some papers that I like draw my own design on. So these are for a Harry Potter collection I'm doing. Don't tell J.K. Rowling. I don't know if that's allowed. So I've got like I put Sharpie and silver on there for a Hufflepuff bead. So what you're going to need for this part is some Mod Podge. I use the glossy kind, but I've also used the matte kind. Just don't use the photo transfer kind because that's not what we're doing here. Okay, so I also use an old magazine as my like surface to work on, because instead of like using a cutting board and stopping and having to clean it off, you just rip a page off and throw it away and keep on moving. And then I have this thing called a dabber. I think it's called a dabber, but it's essentially like those like little sponges that you get when you're a kid in art class. I like this shape, okay, because it's more of the shape of the actual strips of paper that I'm using. So I look at the side, figure out which one has the pencil marking on it, turn it over so that I'm placing the Mod Podge on the side that I want to be visible, not the side with the pencil markings. And then I also have, this is an eyeshadow brush, and I wrap my paper around the very tip of it because it's like very small, because you obviously want a hole in the middle. So dip your dabber in your Mod Podge. I set mine in like a can lid because that way it does. I used to put it on the magazine, but then it gets absorbed into the magazine partially. Okay, so you coat the outside of your strip in Mod Podge. Now you're going to put the bottom side that doesn't have Mod Podge on your whatever tube you're using. Okay, so you fold that overlapping end down, and then you just roll it into a bead. Kind of pay attention to where the paper is going so that you don't end up with an ugly bead, because that happens. And then you just carefully pull it off. And now you can either throw it in a bucket. I put mine on this lovely drying rack I made out of toothpicks from Dollar Tree. And this is like a vase filler, also from Dollar Tree. Use promo code White Girl Wednesday. So you take your bead, put it on the toothpick, and once you've accumulated enough, you move on to the next part, which is coating them in clear nail polish. So I have this big nail polish container. I dump in just cheap clear nail polish from Dollar Tree when I need more, and I have a little drying contraption that I've made. So this is an Amazon Prime box. I've cut little notches in it, and this is a pipe cleaner, as they used to be called, or a chenille stem. Okay, so when my beads are dry, I place them a few at a time onto the pipe cleaner, sometimes in a colorful pattern, doesn't really matter. Okay, you take your clear nail polish and you're going to coat them. You don't want to be excessive because you don't want them to be like sticking together, but some of the colors that you'll use will need more nail polish than others. Like there's some of mine where you really can't tell if I'm using it, and there's some where you can definitely tell, like, oh man, I missed a spot. So you want to make sure that you use enough, but not so much that they all get like super stuck together. I just kind of repeat that process until this is full, and then I place it in the notches that I cut out, and then that's my drying system. So, okay, there's 2 beads down there. So let it dry, and then put it into, like, I either sort them right away or I put it into this nice little bucket is where I keep some of mine that have not been sorted yet, and then I sort them all out. So that's what I've been doing this summer. What about you guys? I highly recommend it. It is so fun. Like, I don't know, I feel very accomplished when I have a ton to sort, and then like my little sorting compartments are full. It's like my love tank might be on empty, but my bead tank is full. My roommate thinks that I just like it because I'm getting high off the Mod Podge, but I don't think that's really a thing. So, happy beading.